So, Seth, Steve, Thursday night football. For one, I mean, the football gods bless us with this one. Frankly, we got a
Yeah.
good matchup: Commanders and Packers. This should be fun, man. This is our number 3 and number 4. I mean, they're technically tied for third in terms of our power rating.
Yeah.
But third and fourth ranked teams here in this one, so it should be a really fun matchup here. Both teams coming off, in my opinion, in different respects, pretty impressive performances from the defensive side of the ball. Coming off of week one, I think the Packers' performance was a little more impressive because of who they beat, right, and kind of how they beat them. But yeah, Thursday night showdown for this one, a good NFC matchup. Seth, kind of where our numbers take this, or what you think how do you expect the game script rather to go in this one in this matchup?
Yeah, I mean, it's no surprise Washington's coming in as one of the top rated offenses, and they look to kind of continue that trend going into week one and kind of dominating the Giants. We have them as a number 6 overall offense going up against the 12th best defense. Now, remember, we're using a kind of a weighted approach here where we're still using a lot of last year's game data to figure out who these teams are. On Green Bay's offensive side of the ball, we have them as the number 9th offense, but Washington is still the really big question in my mind. What is the defense that we're going to get out of this Washington Commanders team? You said that they had a good week one showing, and I think that's true. But last year, this was a team that really struggled on the defensive side of the ball. And when
Sure.
we take last week's data and last season's data, we still get them as the 23rd overall defense. So I still have a lot of questions here. And Green Bay, still, they have less questions. When we look back at last season, I think a lot of what happened was through injury. So um, I'm not surprised that the market has Green Bay favored here by 3.5. We make the number 4, so we think it's spot on. Not a lot of value there, but if Washington's defense is marketably better than it was last year, watch out for Washington. Washington is going to be a live team in the NFC,
Yeah.
not only in the division but in the conference. And if you have seen enough data and you think that this defense is fixed, don't be surprised if Washington continues to upset and continues to beat teams that we think they should be inferior to.
Yeah, Steve. So this Washington team was, last year they were quite literally breaking the charts. They were throwing everyone out of whack with how crazy efficient they were on a per play basis. And we're just like, when are they going to regress? When are they going to regress? And it didn't happen for the longest damn time. And they were an overachiever for pretty much the entire season. Week one, one weeks of data worth into 2025, and they're still good. Like I said, they're our number 3 ranked power rated team. But side by side, these teams aren't that crazy different one game into the season here. So, kind of given where these teams are at, and using some of the priors as well, like, yeah, how do you expect this Thursday night football matchup to go?
Yeah, I mean, this is tough for me because you look at this and we talk about this already, with the defensive dominance on for both of these teams last week, right? You're talking about the Packers. They held the Lions to 6 points on 3 red zone trips. You had the Commanders who held the Giants to 3 points on 2 go to goal drives. And so your question is, we know Giants had that offensive question seemingly every year for the last few years, even with Russell Wilson at the helm. Like, what is that capability of that offense? And then with the Lions, are we seeing a post Ben Johnson effect? Or again, was it just the dominance of Green Bay with Micah Parsons and Quay Walker and all these folks coming in, just imposing their will? But you mentioned it here, like even if there's a little bit of offensive ineptitude that both teams faced last week, the defense did still look pretty damn impressive. And we know what that offense can do here. So yeah, even if we have a bounce back game here for both, or I say a regression for both defenses, I
Yeah.
expect these offenses to continue to put up points. We look at the success rate here: second for Washington offensively, 15th for Green Bay. And to me, if Washington can have any sort of defense, like Seth alluded to, that is going to be the difference for not just this game, but this season. Because if Washington can figure that out on both sides of the ball, there literally is no ceiling to what this team can achieve here. And that's a very, very scary thought. Now, from the Green Bay standpoint, I do expect Micah had a quote last week saying he knew about 80% of the playbook going in there. And so as he gets another week under his belt, albeit a shortened week, can he continue to progress? Can he continue to make even more impact plays than he had in the first week, which is impressive all alone here? So this is going to be a great game to watch. As a Bears fan, I'm hoping the Commanders beat the ever-loving shit out of Green Bay, but I just don't see that happening from like an actual true betting standpoint.
Yeah, I'm just hoping for points. I got no dog in the race in this one. I mean, the market really hasn't done much as far as the total. Open looks like at about 46 and a half, 47, 48 and a half now. So slight tick up, but nothing otherworldly. But yeah, should be a fun matchup nonetheless.
This is the one time I will say you're still gambling, but I can support this a little bit much. If you think you have seen enough from Washington's defense to be even just average from what they were last year, because they were literally one of the worst defenses last year, the market will not catch up fast enough. You're going to be, like meaning if this is 3.5, it probably should be 3. You're going to be able to, and that hook is huge. And if you want to try to front run this market, it's the few times I would say using a mental model is probably the only way you're going to be able to make money. Because if you wait until you have the data to say, oh yeah, this Washington defense is better, and we like know that, the market will catch up, and then you won't catch value anymore. So I'm speaking to my degens here. Like, this is the one time I'll let you off the hook, but understand what you're doing. It's still gambling, because you're gambling that you're right. There's a reason we use priors, right? Because it's more predictive. But there's certain weird cases like this where maybe relaxing that or saying like, no, I've seen enough through this one game. It's enough. I'm going to take the value over and over.
Yeah, hooks are there. They're all expensive in the market, unfortunately, 115 or worse, but they are there. Still value if you like it enough. So, all right, good way to start into the weekend here. Thursday night matchup. Let's head into the Sunday slate now. Let's talk about the Bears and the Lions. Another NFC matchup here. Let's have a moment of silence for Steve and his Bears. The Bears will always have the first drive of the 2025 season. Things were looking so great, and then
the first 3 quarters.
Yeah.
I mean, that drive was like euphoric. I bet. I can just imagine as a Bears fan.
You almost had a hope for like a half a second. Can I say real quick before we hop into this? The ironic part of that fourth quarter meltdown was the celebration of the 85 Bears championship season. That was the most ironic part of all of that.
That is salt in the wound for sure. So, all right, yeah. So nonetheless, it should be a fun matchup. Both teams obviously coming into this one 0-1, so kind of a lot at stake here, honestly, for both teams. An interesting note about we'll talk about the Bears in a minute too, but the Lions and Jared Goff specifically, one of those weird trends or stats that is noteworthy, or something that maybe you could peel back the onion a little bit further on. Goff, he has not won a game in the NFL without Sean McVay or Ben Johnson as his play caller. Odd, right? 19-1 over that span. So 20 game sample size. So let's go, baby. Bears, Steve,